Okay, ritual artists, let's talk about voice and how we use our voice in ritual, or some of the ways that we can. I am speaking from my own experience as someone who's been priestessing in the reclaiming tradition for a while, and someone who studied theater back in the day, way back in the day. And so I'm hoping to share some tools that you might find helpful, particularly if you are taking roles in reclaiming rituals. So vocal projection, like everything in life, is complicated. All bodies are different, all voices are different, and myself, I'm very loud, and not everyone is. But being heard in ritual, when we're holding a ritual role, is really an issue of accessibility. And it's important, and it's not personal. And I just want us all to breathe, myself included, breathe into just wanting people to be able to hear what's going on in ritual, or understand, take in as much as possible. And recognizing that sometimes we have to get creative about how that's possible. So one of the things that we can do when we're using our voice in groups, or things that we need to do, is warm our voice up. Those of us that are singers are trained more to warm up our voices. Not everybody is a singer or a trained singer. So warming your voice up is using it. And if you're not a singer, that can be speaking. I believe that it is better for your voice to start in a lower range and not just go straight up to some high stuff. So something, kind of playing with your lower register, so you can maybe sing. You can do this with me even at home. La 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 la. Or if you speak, hello, 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 hello. Taking good breaths. Ha, 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 ha. Why don't you try that at home? Taking a good deep breath that fills your belly and your diaphragm, and letting it out and emitting a low tone on each exhale. Ha, 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 ha. So whatever is comfortable for you, or whatever is sustainable for you. Maybe it's not comfortable. Warm your voice up before you use it. Sing your favorite song, say your favorite speech, whatever, make little noises. And if you are, of course, singing in ritual, you might want to do even more in-depth warm-ups that do go into higher registers, that warm up all of your registers. You can do those fun slides, or I'll give you time to try your own variation of that now, should you be so inclined. Okay, maybe you did that, maybe you didn't. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Breathing. Breathing is something that is harder than it sounds. And we talk about, it all starts with breath, the foundation is breath. And that can seem trivial or trite, but really breathing, it's quite complicated when you're trying to project in groups. When we get nervous, when we get excited, of course, our breath tends to be more shallow or quick, and that doesn't give us the same diaphragm power to push that sound really far out. So practice breathing, it's training muscles just like any other practice or exercise. So practice lying on the floor and slowly allowing your belly and your diaphragm to fill. Let that go, maybe making those low sounds on the exhale. Huh, huh, huh. But really build those breath muscles. And when you're stepping in, practice training yourself to breathe first. I am surprised often how much I forget to breathe. Even speaking to you here now, I will run out of breath on the end of a sentence because I'm not being mindful and taking my time to have a breath so I can really articulate and get my sound out to you. With that breath, remember your posture. Our posture has a lot to do with how the sound goes out. Of course, if I'm more crumpled, my sound, I don't have the same access to air, so my sound isn't going to be able to go as far. Also, the direction of my face and my body shapes the sound. So if I'm walking, and sometimes I do this as I'm nervous, and if I'm talking down, my sound is just going straight down, well, into my cleavage, but also just straight down into the ground. It's going to be a lot harder for everyone to hear. Get that head up. Don't crunch that diaphragm. Get those shoulders back. I mean, of course, I say that, and maybe you're doing some pose or whatever that changes your body, but try to find ways to give yourself breath. You need to feed yourself, so do that. Also, thinking about the direction of the sound, if it's possible, if it fits your ritual role, think about actually throwing your sound like it's a ball or an object. Throw it to the back of the room, to the furthest corner. You might even tilt your head up a little bit so you can like smack it like a softball right over the crowd. We in the center, sometimes it's really hard for us to recognize how far our sound is going. So shoot further than you think that you might need to. Also, I apologize. I just used language like smack and shoot, and I'm just so sorry that I did. Our language is interesting in America, and I'm looking at my own right now. So I wish I'd used different words. Get that sound up and over. Also, let's think about articulation. Articulation, really forming our words clearly, is challenging, and practice, again, really helps. In those warm-ups, you can always do tongue twisters to practice articulation, to get your articulation game on before you step in. You need unique New York. You need unique New York. Red leather. Look, I couldn't even do that. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. I clearly should have done tongue twisters before recording this. Practice your articulation. This is, again, an accessibility issue. Many folks are reading lips. We have all different levels of hearing, and so many of us read lips. So really articulate. Think about shaping those sounds and using your lips in a way that they can be read. Finish those consonants at the end of sentences. We sometimes don't do that. Let's see, yeah, articulate. Tone also can have impact on our vocal projection. Some of us drop our sound or drop our volume or our tone at the end of a sentence. and we can just be going and then it just runs off. So if you run off at the end of sentences, if you get that feedback, just remember to keep that energy and breath and volume going. If I need to stop and take a breath because I've run out, I'm going to try to remember to do that rather than pushing through and then petering off at the end of a sentence. Know that really high tones can be hard for some people. They can be painful for some people. Some people don't hear them as well as lower tones. So just thinking about if you, for some reason, are planning a particularly squeaky ritual roll, just think about that. One of the things that is an interesting tool, I believe, is Donald Engstrom Reese's 7 Sacred Voices. It gives us some of the variations of ritual voices that we can use. I would say that let's just remember it can be hard for me to hold a whisper tone, for example, or even a trance tone, those softer tones, to hold those and hold volume. There's some paradox there. But remember that tone is separate from my breath, from my posture, from my throwing that sound, and practice, because you can have a loud whisper and you can have a loud trance voice that is still trancy and soothing and relaxing. So play with those 7 sacred voices. Find your own sacred voices. And watch out for priestess voice. So some of us unknowingly, unconsciously step into ritual and take on an affected voice. We do it with our voices, we do it with our bodies. I notice I'm doing it on these recordings. I'm doing a lot of this. When I first started pre-stixing rituals, I put on, without knowing it, like a slight British accent, and one of my teachers and mentors pointed it out to me, and I felt embarrassed in the moment, but super, super grateful. And I realized that subconsciously, because I was raised in the South and Southern accents are often perceived as an indication of a lack of intelligence, I wanted to, or I don't know, I haven't thought about it that in depth, but I think I was trying to compensate for that. And so I was putting on this affect that, maybe could be useful, but when used without mindfulness, was really blocking my authenticity. Microphones are a big thing that we're talking about in reclaiming circles, because they can be such a support for accessibility. Just remember that using a microphone is a whole different skill set, and people need to practice. Again, we need to be mindful of how many people read lips, even when a voice is amplified. So let's not hold the microphone right in front of our face so that our lips can't be read, or if we have some kind of Britney Spears doodad, let's not put that right in front. Not only does it block our lips, but it's often too close. People can make a mistake of thinking they need to be very close to a microphone, which can often give you feedback or fuzzy, buzzy noises that make it hard for people to understand what we're saying. Some distance can be helpful. Also, if we're really close, our consonants, our hard consonants, can get really poppy, our T's and P's, and that can be hard for people to hear. So again, if it's possible at all and you're using microphones in a space, try to get in that space early with someone who can listen and let you practice and give you feedback, so you can, because each microphone is going to be a little different, you can figure out what distance is going to give you the most clarity and keep your mouth clear for folks to see. If you don't have a microphone and you're trying to be heard, remember again about your sound, and don't just face in one direction. Try to rotate if you're in a circle. Be mindful of that too. It's don't get yourself dizzy, but just distribute or turn your head even. You don't have to turn your whole body, so that everybody gets a chance to hear some of that. And I mean, let's just be real and ask people if the energy or the ritual allows, let's say, can folks hear me? Does, holding the microphone, does this work? Can folks hear me? Or however you want to do that. Let people have the opportunity to let us know. And if someone does say, say it, friend. And let's say it, friend, because we really shouldn't assume gender. If you get a say it, friend, or you get this, let's practice letting that just roll off and not personalizing it. The fact is, folks are asking for that because they're really interested in what we have to say, and they're with us, and they want to be with us. They want to stay with us. So they're just asking us to be louder, not different or better. So again, if I'm holding a ritual role that's a speaking role, it's an issue of accessibility for me to be heard, and practice and use these tools so that that's more likely. And your voice is important, your magic is important, and I hope that you let yourself be heard and you have fun practicing that skill. All right, have a good one.